everybody, it's Marvin here. Welcome back to another session. And today we're going to be talking about business success factors. How do you make sure that you know what are the things that are working in your business to create the results that you want to create? And how do you know what to prioritize over the coming period to make sure that you're really focusing on the most important thing? So that's the premise of today's training. My goal is to give you a bit more clarity as to how to become more productive and more effective in your work and also in your team's work. All right, so let's get started on this one. So as you can see here from the model, this is truly what the Scale Right model is all about. Scale Right is all about scaling your business to the right size for you. And what does that mean? It means that you have a business that has a rocking culture, a business that makes you excited to show up at work, and also one where the level players want to join your team. A business that's scaling right is also growing in a predictable way, so that it gives you that certainty as you continue to plan your life. And then a business that's scaling right is a business that has meaningful impact beyond just the financials. So you're really making a difference in your customers' lives. You're really making a difference in this world, in your local community. And the three things that we need to get right to make sure that we have the culture, the impact, and the growth in place would be clarity on your purpose, being able to define what game it is that you're playing, and also that you're getting a bunch of people who are working with you to play. And I'm a big believer in that a better business should also give you a better life. And as you're building your business, you should also be living your life. It's not a question of or if and when, but it should be able to harmoniously manage the two together. So that's all about the purpose. When you're clear about what you want out of your life, you're clear about how to build the business that's right for you. And then we're going to make sure that we have the right people working with us to help us turn this dream into reality. So you're going to need to build the right leadership team in place, manage them, and lead them to get them to want to be excited to do these things. And then once we have the right group of people, then we want to make sure that they are working the right way, making sure that you're building processes so that you can scale the business, and ultimately you want the business to be able to grow without you having to drive it all together. And that's knowing the processes of how do you generate operational cash, the processes of how you increase profitability in your business, and then how do you make sure that everything is running like clockwork as a system. So today we're going to cover sort of an overview of these three things, but these are the things that we need to be clear that you're working on, right? So a good business won't be able to work on all of this at the same time to ensure that the business is improving. You're going to need to be able to pick which one of these areas are most important for you and what you need to do next. And this is what we're going to cover in today's training. So let's look quickly at some of the common problems that a lot of people face when growing their business. The first one is that you're just focusing on too many things. When you're focusing on too many things, then you're not really focused, right? Just by definition alone. And if you as the owner, if this is happening to you, then it's likely to be happening for your team as well, probably with a lot more pressure from their boss. The next common problem is that a lot of people are making gut-based decisions, using their feeling, right, their intuition. A mentor of mine, Keith Cunningham, would say, gut-based decision, GUT, is gave up thinking. So we don't want to rely on just instinct all the time when we're growing our business. And then thirdly, there seems to be this need to be fair and to make sure that everyone in the company is busy. We want to make sure that everyone has to be doing the equal amount of work. I'm not a believer in that. I want to make sure that you guys are not too. It's not about making your team busy, but it's about making the team productive. Because otherwise you could end up with you or your leadership team, everybody's busy, everyone's running around, but you don't really feel like you're accomplishing anything. Okay, so let me show you the flip side, what could happen for you if you get this right. So number one is that you want to be following the 80-20 rule. You want to work on the 20% that's going to give you 80% of the result, right? What's the fewest thing that you can do to ensure that you get the maximum benefit? That's how I want you guys to be thinking. Number one is you have to really know what we have to improve next. You want to be focusing on the things that's easy to do but has a massive impact in your company. And then you want to make sure that you're not just delegating work, you're not delegating to-do list, but you're delegating outcomes, right? So we want to make sure that the things that everyone is working towards is the outcome that we need them to get, so that we can all be purposeful and effective in the way we work. Okay, so if you're watching this in our community, I'd love for you to type in the chat and see what's been most useful for you so far. If you're watching it on social media or YouTube, type handout or work, better yet, type workbook in the chat below, and we'll make sure you get a copy of the workbook. All right, so now I want to share with you the 5 key principles to make sure that you and your leadership team are working as effective and efficiently as possible. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need to pay attention to is to make sure that you guys are thinking smart and fast when it comes to your goals. Okay, we've all heard of the normal SMART goals principle. I like the sort of Ken Blanchard definition of a SMART goal, in that a goal should be specific and measurable. All right, so we're gonna cheat and put everything in the first one there. It has to be very specific and it's got to be measurable. And then we want to go into the T first, which is going to make sure that there's a way for you to be tracking the progress on that goal, so everybody knows where we're going, right? And then we want to make sure that goal is relevant, so everyone knows why we want to be achieving this goal. Why is this important for us to do now? Okay, and then we want to make sure it's attainable in terms of it's achievable and it's realistic. Achievable means it can be done. Realistic is it can be done by me, right? And then if a goal is specific and measurable, it's trackable, it's relevant, it's attainable, then it will be motivating. I spend too many times listening to leaders saying that they want to motivate their team. Well, I say the first thing you need to look at is how well you create goals. If your goals are not motivating, then you will lose the battle before you begin. Okay. The other thing is that we want to make sure the goals are fast as well. So what's fast? Fast is basically frequently discussed. If it's important, you want to be talking about it. Okay. People respect what you inspect. So we want to be talking about it a lot so that we're focused on it. Next thing is that we want the goals to be ambitious, right? We want to win gold medals. We don't want to just win bronze medals. And then ultimately we want the goals to be specific. We want to make sure that, like before in the SMART goals, that people know exactly what it is. And then it is transparent. We can see it everywhere, just like in sports where they need scoreboards. Okay, so that's what we mean when we say you got to think smart and fast when it comes to your goals. The next thing is that if we know what the goals are that we want, we need to know what are the drivers, what are the factors that will allow us to achieve what we need to achieve. Okay, so if we have a goal that we want to achieve, we know that there is a certain set of sort of routine activities that we would have to do, right? I kind of call this the whirlwind. So that's, this is the routine. We have to make sure that we're doing the day-to-day stuff to ensure that we're getting the revenue goals, the profit goals that we want to achieve. So if we're looking at this framework, you can see that the goal is basically the outcome that we want to achieve, right? And the routine, the day-to-day stuff that we do, are basically the drivers. Yeah, so if the outcome is the result, the drivers are what makes the result happen. And this is what we want to have. So in business, we call this, critical drivers, KPIs, or KPAs. Okay. So other than just working on the routine and making sure that your drivers are optimal, sometimes you also need, if you have a bigger goal, you're going to need to do different things. You can't just do the same things, otherwise you'll get the same results. So going back to this framework, then you're going to need to be doing some sort of new activities to ensure that you can achieve your new goals, right? So on top of the routine, we're going to need to do some new activities. And these are what we call our priorities, okay? So if we go back to this picture, as you can see, you got the routines, you got new activities. And in terms of your use of time, then, most people, this would be around 80% of your time is to make sure that the day-to-day stuff is running well. And you probably have, you can allocate about 20% of your time to ensure that there are improvements in your business, improvements in your department, so that you get to achieve this new result that you want to achieve. So here at Next Level Business, we used a tool to help our members really fine-tune their focus on their next priority. So we want to make sure that they're making the right next move to ensure that they're getting the biggest bang for the buck, right? We have a tool that we use, which is in our workbook. It's called there are two things. Number one is the priority, focus and priority navigator, which looks like this. So again, if you want a copy of the workbook, if you're watching this on social media, just type workbook in the comments and we'll make sure we get it to you. Otherwise, you can, if you're on our page, there's a download button. Go ahead and download the workbook. But basically, we use this tool to help people diagnose their current situation and where their focus should be. So the first one is cash, sales and cash in. So we normally color code this in terms of whether things are green, yellow, or red. Okay. You're just going to color code this based on the level of stress this is giving you. Okay, not very scientific, I know, but we are all emotional creatures. So in your business, in terms of regular sales and getting cash from your sales, what's your level of stress? Green means all good, red means there's a lot of stress, yellow somewhere in the middle. Okay, and then we do the same when it comes to the choice that you have available because of the amount of cash that you guys have and the amount of profits that you guys have, right? If it's easy for you to make the choice to invest money so that your business can grow, then you don't have a lot of stress. If you have to really pick and choose who can I hire, when can I hire, then you probably have a lot of concern when it comes to the choice that's available for you. Okay, we do the same thing, green, yellow, and red. And then we're going to look at the consistency. How much headaches are you getting in terms of how well your team is performing? Are they using the process as well? Are your processes running? Do you have a lot of drama in your team, right? This would be on the consistency. And then we're going to look at the sort of the change that you want to create in people's lives. We're looking at your team, we're looking at your customers, we're looking at the community overall. If this is not something you're thinking about, then give it a green. If this is something that you're thinking about a lot, it's causing you a little bit of stress, then yellow. If it's a lot, then it's red. And then finally, you're going to grade your continuity, your sustainability. How long can this business survive well after you unfortunately are gone from this world, right? So do we have sustainability? Do we have continuity? Do we have a long-term view of this? If this is giving you concern, it's red. If it's not, it's green. If it's a little bit, then it's yellow. Okay. Once you do this, you'll be able to see where the areas are that needs the most attention. Yellows and reds obviously need to be improved. Greens either need to be systemized or maintained. And then I'm drawing this line here because we have a distinction. Basically, anything below this line, cash and choice, this is all about making more money for your business. And then anything above this, consistency, continuity, and change. This is all about making your business a better business. Okay, so once you do this, we normally encourage our members to pick maybe one thing to work on in terms of making money, and then one thing to work on when it comes to making things better in their business. Okay, make money, usually shorter term impact. Make better, usually longer term impact. Okay, so this is how you're going to diagnose your needs. And then we have this roadmap here to really focus on your right next move. So anything here is about making money, and this above here is about making things better. Okay, so if cash is an issue for you, then you would start from the bottom right and you would go to the left, and you want to see, okay, do I have the product market fit, for example? Does my target market really want what I sell? Do I really know who my target market is? And then if this is okay, then you can move to the next one, which is, do we have good product or service quality? If that's okay, do we have the right pricing? Do we have the optimal pricing for our product or service? If this is okay, then you can continue to diagnose this way, from right to left, and then you start from the bottom again. Where are we actually stuck in terms of creating cash or sales? Okay, so if this is your area that needs work, then obviously you would highlight it, and that's the one that you want to fix. Don't bother working on anything else because you have an issue with your lead generation and nurture. Okay, so this is the logic. This is the steps that we would use to guide our clients to pick on their next priority. Okay, we then go to the next thing where you can play your game, right? So if you want to play the game, just like in the picture here, when you're playing chess or you're playing checkers or you're playing Ludo, you want to make sure that everybody knows how to win. We want to make sure that the objective is clear and we can see who's winning and who's not, right? So what we do here is we have a simple tool called our game plan, right? So I'll show you here. And in the game plan, you can put down here your business improvement focus. So let's say I'm working on my lead generation, and then the key measures would be, what do I need to see to know that I've done this project, right? This business improvement. And then on top of that, we will then put in our goals, the revenue, the profit, the customers, the cash, the contribution goals that you may have. And then you can put in whatever KPIs or critical drivers that you need to be monitoring to make sure that you get the outcome that you want, right? And then you're going to put down here, what's your reward if you achieve this, and what's your punishment if you don't achieve this, if you don't follow through on your commitments. And that, for us, that's your game plan. That's what we guide our members to implement to make sure that they turn their plans into reality. And finally, we highly recommend, we urge our members to work off an 8-week cycle, where there's a 6 weeks where they go hard, and then there's 2 weeks where there's a cool down period. Okay. Your goals and your critical numbers, you're going to have the whole cycle, or we do it in 8 weeks, to really make sure that you achieve this. Whereas we want to make sure that any improvement projects that we do gets done within 6 weeks. Okay, so that your team will have 2 weeks to be fresh, to focus on the goals, to reflect on what's happened, to think about the future, and maybe even take a bit of a time off, right? And that's a good time for you as the entrepreneur as well, to switch off, re-energize, refocus for the next cycle. I want you to think of athletes, right? Athletes have a pre-season training, they have an in-season program where it's pretty intense, and then they have a post-season, they have a post-season break so that they can recharge and be fresh for the next season. Same goes for you, same goes for your team. Okay, so that's the 5 key principles. Yeah, it's a quick training. We normally, of course, go deeper with our members on this and we guide them to fill it out. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Would love to hear your thoughts. Once again, if you would like to get a copy of the workbook, just type in workbook below and we will sort you out. All right, take care, everybody. See you next time.